Right around 1177 BCE, the ancient world simply stopped. Within just a few decades, nearly every major empire surrounding the Mediterranean fell apart. Palaces burned, populations vanished, and towering civilizations crumbled into ash. To understand the scale of the destruction, we have to look at what was lost. The Late Bronze Age was a sophisticated era defined by globalized trade. The Mycenaeans, the Hittites, and the Egyptians were bound together by a massive network of maritime commerce. Bronze was the lifeblood of that network. Because making it required copper and tin, empires traded massive slabs of metal known as oxhide ingots. These heavy sheets were shaped like animal skins, specifically for easier transport across long maritime routes. This extreme interconnectedness created a golden age of wealth, but it also forged a fatal dependency. No single empire had the resources to survive in isolation. If one node in the network failed, the entire system risked a total collapse. That collapse arrived with startling speed. A wave of destruction swept across the Mediterranean, burning major cities to the ground. Thriving urban centers, like the massive Hittite capital of Hattusa, were wiped off the map and abandoned, plunging the region into a centuries-long dark age. For a long time, historians blamed a single terrifying culprit, a heavily armed maritime confederation of tribes known collectively as the Sea Peoples. Primary evidence of these attacks comes from the victims themselves. As his city was being invaded, the king of Ugarit pressed desperate pleas for military aid into clay tablets, recording that unknown enemy ships were burning his towns and committing evil deeds across his country. The Egyptians recorded the scale of the invasion in even greater detail. Pharaoh Ramesses III ordered massive reliefs carved into his mortuary temple, depicting chaotic land and sea battles where his armies fought to repel an overwhelming swarm of these foreign invaders. For centuries, these primary records cemented the Sea People's reputation as a bloodthirsty horde. They became the ultimate historical boogeymen, the singular force that brought about the ancient apocalypse. However, looking closer at the exact same temple reliefs reveals details that challenge the idea of a simple military invasion. In the middle of the chaotic battle carvings, the stone reveals a strange detail. Mixed in among the warriors are multiple rows of ordinary walking figures, suggesting a massive movement of displaced families. Armies rarely pack their families and their entire lives into heavy wooden carts before a military conquest. This is the visual footprint of a mass migration. The Sea Peoples represent a displaced population, desperately relocating their civilization to find a new home. The question then becomes, what invisible force pushed tens of thousands of people out of their homelands and into the sea? Modern science provides the answer. By drilling deep into the mud beneath places like the Sea of Galilee, researchers pull up sediment cores that preserve thousands of years of climate data. This timeline graph maps ancient rainfall. Right at 1200 BCE, a sharp drop in precipitation indicates a 300-year megadrought. Without rain, agriculture failed. Consecutive crop failures led to severe famine, creating agricultural dead zones across the ancient world. Starvation forced these populations to abandon their homes and take to the water in a violent struggle for survival. This environmental disaster transformed these people into the raiders we call the Sea Peoples. This influx of refugees acted as the final stressor on a fragile network, triggering a systems collapse. As the Sea Peoples raided coastal strongholds for food and resources, they inadvertently severed the trade routes that supplied the ancient world with copper and tin. The disruption caused a domino effect. Without maritime trade, bronze production stopped. Militaries failed, economies crashed, and states could no longer feed their populations. Monumental cities were abandoned and fell into ruin. The collapse was so total that it led to a profound cultural amnesia. In Greece, the central palace culture disappeared, and complex writing systems like Linear B were permanently forgotten. The Sea Peoples appear as a chaotic symptom of a dying, starving world, rather than its singular root cause. While the system collapse was apocalyptic, it was not the end of humanity in the Mediterranean. The permanent loss of international bronze trade forced survivors to innovate. They turned to a metal that was harder to process, but available locally: iron. This transition ushered in the Iron Age. Our modern globalized world shares many of the same systemic fragilities that existed in 1200 BCE. The transformation of the Sea Peoples into desperate climate refugees serves as a chilling reminder of how quickly highly complex civilizations can unravel. It shows us that environmental disaster and mass migration can topple even the most powerful empires.